Most people think being gifted means high IQ, straight A's, top of the class. But some of the smartest people you know look average. Quiet, distracted, even lazy. Meanwhile, the hard workers grind for years and still stay stuck. So what's going on? Here's the truth. Being gifted isn't about what you know. It's about how your brain operates under the surface. And there are signs, subtle ones, 10 of them. If you have even a few, you're playing a completely different game than everyone else. I'm about to show you exactly what they are. And by the end of this, you'll understand why most people never reach your level. Chapter 1. The Thinking Gap. Most people think fast thinking equals intelligence. Wrong. Gifted people hesitate. They pause. They overanalyze. And everyone calls them slow. But here's the problem, though. That slowness is actually depth. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman calls this system two thinking. Slow, effortful, logical. Average people rely on system 1. Fast, automatic, shallow. Gifted minds default to depth. They don't just accept information. They interrogate it. Example. Someone tells you a fact. Average brain. Sounds right. Gifted brain. Wait, why? That constant questioning? That's not overthinking. That's cognitive resistance. And resistance creates stronger neural encoding. You're not slow. You're precise. Chapter 2. You get bored too easily. Most people think boredom is laziness. Wrong. Boredom is a signal. A very specific one. Your brain is understimulated. Gifted people get bored fast because their processing speed is higher. A 2010 study from the University of London found that high IQ individuals experience boredom more frequently because their brains require more complex input. Translation? You outgrow simple tasks instantly. That's why school felt pointless. That's why repetitive work drains you. That's why you procrastinate. But here's the problem, though. Most people misinterpret this. They think, I'm lazy. No, you're under-challenged. There's a difference. And if you don't fix it, you'll sabotage yourself for years. Chapter 3. You talk to yourself. A lot sounds crazy. It's not. Most people think talking to yourself means something is wrong. Wrong. Psychologists call it self-directed speech, and it's linked to higher cognitive function. Lev Vygotsky discovered that internal dialogue improves problem-solving and memory. Gifted people do this constantly. They simulate conversations, debate ideas, rehearse scenarios. It's like having a built-in coach. Average people think silently. Gifted people think in layers. Voice, logic, emotion, simulation, all running at once. That's why you replay conversations. That's why you argue in your head. That's why you think of better responses hours later. It's not awkward, it's advanced processing. Chapter 4. You notice patterns. Others miss. Most people see events. Gifted people see systems. That's the difference. Average brain, this happened. For gifted brain, this always happens under these conditions. Psychologist Gary Klein studied decision-making in experts. He found that high performers rely on pattern recognition, not raw intelligence. They don't think more. They see more. Example, in business, average person sees a failed company. Gifted person sees the pattern, bad timing, weak distribution, poor positioning. Same in relationships, same in learning, same in life. You connect dots faster. But here's the problem, though. You assume everyone else sees it too. They don't. And that's where frustration begins. Chapter 5. You struggle with authority. Let's be honest. You don't like being told what to do. Most people think that's arrogance. Wrong. It's misalignment. Gifted people don't reject authority. They reject irrational authority. If something makes sense, you follow it. If it doesn't, you resist. That's critical thinking, not rebellion. A study published in the Journal of Personality found that highly intelligent individuals are more likely to question norms and challenge rules. Why? Because they evaluate logic, not hierarchy. But here's the problem, though. The system rewards compliance, not intelligence. So you get labeled difficult, disruptive, uncooperative, when in reality, you just see flaws others ignore. Chapter 6. You feel like you don't belong. This one hits hard. Most people think gifted people feel confident. Wrong. They feel out of place, constantly, because your brain operates differently. Different interests, different pace, different priorities. So conversations feel shallow, environments feel limiting, and people feel disconnected. Psychologists call this asynchronous development. Your cognitive ability is ahead of your social environment, so you don't fit in. Not because you're broken, because you're mismatched. And if you don't understand this, you start shrinking yourself to fit. Big mistake. Chapter 7. You learn fast. But forget faster sounds contradictory. It's not. Gifted people absorb information quickly, but they also lose interest just as fast. Why? Because novelty drives dopamine. Once something is understood, your brain moves on. Hermann Ebbinghaus showed that memory decays rapidly without reinforcement, but gifted people rely too much on initial understanding. They think, I get it. So they stop. No repetition, no encoding, result, gone in a week. But here's the fix. Active recall, spaced repetition, the same systems used by surgeons and elite learners. If you combine fast understanding with retention systems, you become unstoppable. Chapter 8. You overthink simple decisions. Most people act fast. You don't. You simulate outcomes, run scenarios, analyze consequences, and then hesitate. That's not weakness. That's cognitive depth. But here's the problem, though. Overanalysis kills execution. There's a concept called analysis paralysis. Too many variables, too many possibilities. So nothing happens. Gifted people don't lack intelligence. They lack decision constraints. Solution? Limit options, force action. Because thinking alone doesn't create results, execution does. Chapter 9. You have intense curiosity in random directions. You don't just like learning. You obsess for a week, maybe a month, then you drop it and move to something else. Most people call this lack of discipline. Wrong. It's exploratory intelligence. Your brain is scanning for high-value domains, testing, sampling, searching for leverage. But here's the problem, though. Without structure, curiosity becomes chaos. You start everything, finish nothing. That's why elite performers combine curiosity with systems. They explore, then they commit. You need both. Chapter 10. You constantly feel like you're wasting potential. This is the biggest one. And the most dangerous. You know you're capable of more, but your results don't match. So you feel stuck, frustrated, behind. Most people don't feel this because they don't see the gap. You do. That's why it hurts. But here's the truth. Potential means nothing. Execution is everything. And gifted people fail here more than anyone because they rely on ability, not systems. Hit subscribe before you forget this, because knowing this changes everything. But here's the problem, though. Even if you have all 10 signs, even if you're ahead of 90%, you can still lose, because intelligence without direction is useless. That's why most gifted people never become successful. They think differently, but they don't act differently. And that's the gap. So here's the next step. You need a system, a way to turn raw intelligence into consistent output. The same way elite learners use structured methods to dominate knowledge. Because talent gives you an advantage, but systems make it unfair. That's why I made the next video, breaking down the exact system high performers use to turn intelligence into results. Watch it next, before you waste another year knowing you could have done more.